way to start a family, Lagos. Adoption has been with us since the dawn of humanity, and I'm happy to see that more and more Nigerians are embracing adoption, and I'm happy to see that they are challenging the false narratives around adoption that comes from the culture around us. Yesterday's big hard fact: the Child Rights Act regulates legal adoption in Nigeria. Did you know that? So that means that there are legal ways to adopt a child, and the Child Rights Act describes those ways. Any other process is not legal. So if you adopt a child in a way that the Child Rights Act doesn't describe, you've actually not adopted the child. There's no parent child relationship in the eyes of the law and the government. And worse than that, you may have violated the rights of that child or their parents. So it's important, as we encourage adoption and as more Nigerians want to do it, for us to understand what the law says, how the process is supposed to work, etc., etc. That's why my guest here today is going to help us do exactly that. Ikbaya Adetutu is the Assistant Director in the Adoption Office of the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development. Adetutu, good to have you on the show. Welcome to Hard Facts. Good afternoon. Hi, Adetutu, can you hear me? Adetutu, can you hear me? Okay, it doesn't look like she can hear me. Hopefully we solve that sound problem. I don't know if we're having a sound problem because I can hear sounds from her. I can hear sounds in her environment, but it doesn't look like she can hear me. So we'll figure that problem out, and then we will fix it. Lagos, I am Sandra Ezekwesili. We want to hear from you as well. Have you adopted a child or tried to adopt a child? What was the process like for you? Are you thinking about adoption? What questions do you have about adoption? What do you think are the biggest fears or concerns stopping more Nigerians from adopting children? Women call us on 01465-7190. Men call us on 0700-993-993. Adetutu, can you hear me? Okay, it doesn't look like she can hear me. All right, we'll take a break, try and solve that technical difficulty, Lagos, and then come back and keep talking. Please don't go away.
This is The Voice Note on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
If you marry the wrong guy or the wrong girl, everything can be derailed one way or the other. So don't play with it. Don't marry a fool, whether male or female. Have a sense of who you are. And when you have a sense of who you are, you will understand who is the fit for you as the Lord leads you. You will know that it's not about naira and kobo. It's not about silver and gold. The son of a rich man is not a rich boy, because only the one that has the cash flow has the money. What's the best thing that will happen? They'll have a big wedding. They didn't have it for you. They had the big wedding for their own image. They will give you a house and many cars on day one. All the cars will get old at the same time. And if you do not have the capacity to maintain or to keep them, you're already in trouble. They can't pay school fees. Cash flow is money to do everything you need to do every day, not for the wedding ceremony. So marrying the son of a rich man is not your solution. Seek to find the bone of your bone. Who can accommodate the vision and the ambition in your heart as a person? Who can be an enabler for you to emerge? Who can encourage and support you? It might not look like it right now, but just understand that people manifest in what? In seasons. Don't allow anybody to deceive you. Look for a man that fears the Lord, a man who is responsible and right thinking. He has vision and he has ambition. I guarantee you, he will show up somewhere and you will be glad you met him.
We talk.
Oyo State Police Command has paraded 21 suspected IPOB members accused of burning 3 police stations and killing 3 officers.
You talk.
The poor man steal money, they show him face for crime fighter. When rich man steal money, they no go see him face for crime fighter.
So what the government have made us to understand is that whatever news that comes from the public that is against the government is fake.
Really talk.
Why are they turning their guns, their boots against the defenseless and harmless civilian populace? What is their problem?
Nigeria in Nigeria. Let's talk. This is The Voice Note on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
It was why we sang and danced in the night, why we lit fires that burned through the night, why we chose a flag colored in freedom, for now we would be kings in this our kingdom. But our first head of state was Igbo, and the next, though a soldier, also Igbo. Then Angas ruled, followed by Hausa, and then came the turn of Yoruba. Then Hausa came back for a term cut short. When power was taken by an Hausa gunshot, then Gwari claimed his turn to rule, but a mandate stolen was his downfall. Then Kanuri came, and it's quite probable that he'll still be ruling if not for that apple. Then Yoruba returned, not once, but twice. Then Hausa returned, but died in peace. Then they left us a while to worry and wonder. When it was over, Ijo had power, and after him came that titanic shift. And now we can see that Hausa is back, leaving me with this troublesome thought. Where in all this? Ask me to choose a side. When we were students, nobody asked if North and South could share a desk, if East and West could study together, but now you tell me that I'm a stranger. Stranger, yes, to these ways of thinking, thinking that tribe is everything, the Niger and Benue, they meet in my heart, and know that freedom, my freedom is yet to come. When no one will question my origin, when no one will kill me because of my faith, when no one will treat me because of my state, when my state will be wherever I live, and will change whenever I choose to move. The day I find what in Nigerian president, or that in Nigerian is finally president, and so, while the flag of ethnicity still flutters over this land of shining rivers, and the tribes take their turn to misgovern my country, I look to the future, for I'm not yet free.
Making a mistake does not make you special. Everybody makes a mistake. What makes you special is how and if you get up. They said, Carla, why don't you talk about the pearls that you would have given to your 25-year-old self after being a woman on Wall Street for 30 years? So here's how it goes. Dear Carla, the first thing that I'd like to tell you is own your power. When people are starting to question whether or not you can, and you start to doubt whether or not you can, red flag, you have just given away your power. The next thing I'd like to tell you, Carla, is you must be comfortable taking risks. If you never reach far enough to hit that wall, you won't know how far you can go. What's the worst that can happen if you take a risk and it doesn't work out? So you fail. But guess what? Failure always brings you a gift, and that gift is called experience. The third piece of advice, Carla, is remember that it is easier to beg for forgiveness than it is to ask for permission. The fourth piece of advice, and Carla, this is a big one. If you meet somebody, a guy or a gal, that you are interested in, and they tell you that you are too much for them, they are right. Do not dim your lights for somebody else's convenience. The fifth piece of advice, Carla, is you must celebrate your victories often. There will be lots of things that will happen in life that might make you sad, that might make you pause. So when the great things happen, no matter how small, celebrate. When it's your birthday, celebrate all month. My next piece of advice, Carla, don't worry about making mistakes. And oh, by the way, making a mistake, Carla, does not make you special. Everybody makes a mistake. What makes you special is how and if you get up. The next piece of advice, life is a journey. Don't be in such a hurry to go towards things. Enjoy every single lesson that life brings you. And then finally, I say to you, as my good friend Judith Adu said to me, this is real life. This ain't no dress rehearsal. So make sure that you go for it all of the time. Put your foot on the gas no matter what it is and go for it. You have absolutely nothing to lose. If you are
Lagos, I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. This is Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. And we finally have kind of, sort of, really sorted our technical difficulties. Apologies about that. Like I said before that long break, we have the assistant director in the adoption office of the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development on the show with us today. Her name is Ikbaye Adetutu. Adetutu, thank you so much for joining us, and apologies about the delay.
Good evening. Thank you.
Yes.
It's fine. Thank you very much.
Good evening. Okay, so let's start from the very top. Walk us through the legal process for adopting a child.
Okay, I would like to first say that adoption is the process where suitable parents acquire legal parentage over a child who may necessarily not be their blood. And there are categories of children that can be adopted. That is the children that is neglected, abandoned, or they are abused, regularly, constantly abused children. Those are the children that will be available for adoption. And if anyone is interested in adoption, they must write a letter of intent.
Okay.
Can you hear me, please?
So a letter of what?
They must write a letter of intent that is I'm applying. I live a social place. I want to adopt a child. I want to adopt a female child. I want to adopt twins as they want to. They will address it to the permanent secretary of the Ministry of Youth and Social Development.
Okay.
So that is the first stage. The first stage is your letter of application to the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development, addressed to the permanent secretary.
Okay.
So if you want to adopt a child, it's a process. So the process starts from when we receive your letter.
Okay.
So once we receive your letter, we call you, or we have received your letter, we book you for an interview, you attend a mandatory pre-counseling section.
Okay. Okay, we seem to have lost connection to our guest. I'm hoping that we will get her back on the phone so that we're able to continue this conversation. It's quite unfortunate that this is happening because we're really doing our best to have her join the conversation. Well, we're trying to put a call back. Unfortunately, I don't know. The gods are getting in the way, but we'll get around it. We'll do our best to get around it. Let's take another short break, and then when we come back from this break, hopefully we have it all sorted. Okay, no, we don't need to take a break. She's back on.
Hello.
Sorry about that. Welcome back. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay, so I was at
Hello? Okay, because this is a WhatsApp call, that's why you're hearing that boop boop sound. Everyone that uses WhatsApp knows how that goes. And we're doing our best to fix the connection issues. Hopefully we don't have it continuing. Let's take a break. Lagos, we'll be back.
This is The Voice Note on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
It was why we sang and danced in the night, why we lit fires that burned through the night, why we chose a flag colored in freedom, for now we would be kings in this our kingdom. But our first head of state was Igbo, and the next, though a soldier, also Igbo. Then Angas ruled, followed by Hausa, and then came the turn of Yoruba. Then Hausa came back for a term cut short. When power was taken by an Hausa gunshot, then Gwari claimed his turn to rule, but a mandate stolen was his downfall. Then Kanuri came, and it's quite probable that he'll still be ruling if not for that apple. Then Yoruba returned, not once, but twice. Then Hausa returned, but died in peace. Then they left us a while to worry and wonder. When it was over, Ijo had power, and after him came that titanic shift, and now we can see that Hausa is back, leaving me with this troublesome thought: where in all this is my own president? For where I was born is not where I'm from, and where I'm from is not my home. So when the tribes gather, I often wonder, who will I fight when you're both my brothers? Nobody asked when we were children. Before we play, are you a Muslim? We shared a space that nobody claimed, but now you ask me to choose a side. When we were students, nobody asked if North and South could share a desk, if East and West could study together, but now you tell me that I'm a stranger. Stranger, yes, to these ways of thinking that tribe is everything. The Niger and Benue, they meet in my hand. I'm not an indigent, but this is my land. And this is my language, I speak nothing else. My home is here, I know nothing else. My tribe is my nation, I am nothing else, and this is my country, I have nowhere else. And so, though people are quick to assure me, to tell me this country I live in is free, deep in my heart, I know that freedom, my freedom, is yet to come, when no one will question my origin, when no one will call me a non-indigent, when no one will kill me because of my faith, when no one will cheat me because of my state, when my state will be wherever I live, and will change whenever I choose to move, the day I find not a Nigerian president, but that a Nigerian is finally president. And so, while the flag of ethnicity still flutters over this land of two shining rivers, and the tribes take their turn to misgovern my country, I look to the future, for I'm not yet free.
This is The Voice Note on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Let's talk.
If you marry the wrong guy or the wrong girl, everything can be derailed one way or the other. So don't play with it. Don't marry a fool, whether male or female. Have a sense of who you are. And when you have a sense of who you are, you will understand who is the fit for you as the Lord leads you. You will know that it's not about naira and kobo. It's not about silver and gold. The son of a rich man is not a rich boy, because only the one that has the cash flow has the money. What's the best thing that will happen? They'll have a big wedding. They didn't have it for you. They had the big wedding for their own image. They will give you a house and many cars on day one. All the cars will get old at the same time. And if you do not have the capacity to maintain or to keep them, you're already in trouble. They can't pay school fees. Cash flow is money to do everything you need to do every day, not for the wedding ceremony. So marrying the son of a rich man is not your solution. Seek to find the bone of your bone. Who can accommodate the vision and the ambition in your heart as a person? Who can be an enabler for you to emerge? Who can encourage and support you? It might not look like it right now, but just understand that people manifest in what? In seasons. Don't allow anybody to deceive you. Look for a man that fears the Lord, a man who is responsible and right thinking. He has vision and he has ambition. I guarantee you, he will show up somewhere and you will be glad you met him.
Lagos, I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. Unfortunately, the technical difficulties that we're having seem to be unsurmountable or insurmountable. I don't know what's going on. We're trying to call our guest. It's not connecting. We've tried a WhatsApp call. It's not working. We've tried Zoom. That doesn't seem to be working, but I'm going to get this information across to you, Lagos, because you need this information, especially considering that we spent weeks talking about baby factories, talking about why baby factories are on the rise. We spent weeks talking about how difficult the actual legal adoption process is. We spent all that time on that conversation, and I promised to bring someone from at least the Lagos State government to discuss this. And so we have her. We are trying to free up communication lines so that we can actually talk. Adetutu, do we have you on the line? Hi, Adetutu, can you hear me? Hello? Hello? Can you hear me? Okay, so she can't hear me. I don't think she can hear me. I don't know if she can hear me. I don't know if it connected properly, but something is definitely going on, and it's simply just not working out. And I don't want to keep playing promos. I really don't want to keep playing promos. I really don't want to keep playing sweepers, because that's not what you're here for. You're here for great conversation. And let me tell you, Lagos, like, there was so much that I wanted us to talk about. For instance, I was going to ask her, I already asked her what the process was, right? And she'd started by telling us that first you have to write a letter informing the agency that you want to adopt. and then that's where she was at before we stopped hearing her. I was also going to ask a number of other questions, because you have people who talk, for instance, about, oh, I adopted a blood relative, um, or they will say, "Oh, I adopted a child who was previously a stranger, maybe from an orphanage." So one of the questions I would love to ask would be if there's a difference in the legal process, in these two cases. Does my dead brother's child automatically become mine as next of kin if the mother is also dead? These are a few of the questions that I'd love to ask. I also want to know how the state determines whether a child can be adopted. Is it just children in registered orphanages? Like, what's the process there? She'll also hopefully help us answer that question. Now, of course, we have a break coming up in 2 minutes. So we may not be able to do much with the call. Is this still like a WhatsApp call? But you still don't. The situation is still the situation now. Hello, Adetutu, can you hear me? Hello, Adetutu. Yes. Sorry about this. I don't know what's happening. I'm so sorry about the technical issues we're having.
I'm sure it's network.
Yes, it really is. So you were telling us the procedure for adoption, like what happens with adoption. And you said that the first step was that people will have to write a letter asking permission from the ministry, yes?
Yes, they will need to write an application letter addressed to the permanent secretary.
Okay. And then what next?
Okay. So after then, they'll be invited for interview to see, to speak with them, either if they are couple or if it's a single person. So now a single person can adopt, and also a married couple can adopt as well.
I see. Okay.
Yes, so there are also categories of people that can adopt. So those are two categories.
Okay.
Then a married person also can adopt with the consent of the partner.
Okay.
So I am Mrs. Ipaye now. My husband has a busy schedule or is out of town. I can adopt as Mrs. Ipaye with the consent of my husband.
Of your husband. Okay.
Husband. So vice versa as well.
Okay.
So they go through another counseling section as well, and there is like they educate them on what the process is going to be like.
Okay.
So this is like a period after the adoption to counseling sections, like a period whereby people now decide: do I want to continue or do I don't feel like doing it anymore?
Okay. All right.
And if they concluded, okay, I want to continue with the adoption process, they'll be given application. They'll be given registration form to fill.
Okay.
And the registration forms just has their basic history, and requirements for adoption process.
Okay.
So the requirements is your birth certificate, your marriage certificate for applicable for married couples, medical certificate of fitness. We'll give them a referral letter to a general hospital that we usually use, that will conduct their physical condition and also their mental alertness as well will be conducted at the general hospital. Okay. We will need to check their statement of accounts, their proof of income, what they do, letters from, they'll be bringing letters from their employers, and if there are people that do
business,
yes, they are private people, they have their own.
They're entrepreneurs.
They're entrepreneurs. They will either bring their CAC or products of what they do, pictures of what they do, evidence of something that they give, that brings income into, for them.
Okay. Hold that thought. Hold that thought. We need to take a commercial break. But when we come back, you start from where you've just stopped, okay?
All right.
A day to remember in the history of our dear country, Nigeria. 9 wise men from the north who are governors came together on June 8th, 2022 to stand for equity and fairness in the interest of our nation, Nigeria. They buried personal interest for the unity of our country. They supported the call that power must shift to the south in 2023. They chose a Nigeria agenda. We salute our brothers and sisters in the northern part of this country who, in spite of their vote advantage, continue to propagate the unity of Nigeria by promoting rotation of presidency between the north and southern part of the country. Let voters in the North follow the move by these leaders. Vote for power shift to the South. It's the turn of the South to produce the president in 2023. Let's vote Bola Tinubu for president for a renewed hope of better Nigeria. Vote Kashim Shettima as vice president. Vote APC. Long live the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Naija no dey carry last because we dey support our own. Like we dey support Verve card, the #1 Naija payment card. Make your payment withdraw or transfer money with Verve card, the ogbonge Pan-African card wey dey available in over 180 countries. Verve card dey sama plenty kajad rewards so that we fit dey jolly dey go. Tell your bank say na Verve card you want and Verve up today.
Verve. Enjoy the good life. Isn't it beyond extraordinary owning a smartphone with a distinctive retractable portrait lens camera on an eco-friendly back cover designed with a sleek cinema-like mute-smooth screen, a super fast charge battery, and PC-level large memory? Go for the new Techno Phantom X2 today and get a free Phantom razor toothbrush or a trolley travel case. Also enjoy 24 months warranty, 100 days broken screen warranty, and free data on a 5G network for up to 12 months. Hurry now to select retail stores while offer lasts. T's and C's apply. Techno, stop at nothing.
Oh, the only detergent that keeps me bright and fresh. I know they waste time to wash. I thought my clothes deserve the best, so why go less? You can't wash a lot with a little Viva. Use Viva. Don't waste your time, don't waste your money. Use Viva. Viva, oh Viva. I love my Viva. Don't need no other. I love my Viva forever. Viva, oh Viva. I love my Viva. Don't need no other. I love my Viva forever. Viva, I love my Viva. Don't need no other. I love my Viva forever.
Viva detergent, a quality cleaning powder from Aspira.
Hey, my name is Alex. I've been a content creator for a while now, and I always try to innovate to keep my audience entertained and engaged. When 5G came into Nigeria, I thought it was all noise, like the normal hype, gang, and all that noise. But boy, was I wrong. Because I've hosted virtual concerts, partied with my followers in the metaverse, created skits with creators in other countries without ever having to leave my room. I can shoot a movie without being on set. Hey, now that's a godsend. With all the money I've spent on cabs this year. If there's one thing 5G has done right, I would say it's made it easier for me to do me.
With MTN 5G, it offers hyper-fast internet speeds, seamless buffering, and applications that can only be possible via its quality data capabilities. No pichuju, now MTN 5G. Now available on iPhone. MTN. What are we doing today?
Moves must be made. My people just to work hard. Dreams and challenges motivate us. But sometimes, when the journey gets tiring, all we need is something to push our limits.
Reactor, ignite your energy, bring out your inner champion. Reactor, ignite your energy, bring out your inner champion.
Reactor Energy Drink. What you need to push your limits. Push your limits.
Omo, me I don collect my PVC o. I don ready for this 2023 election.
Hey, correct Nigerian.
Yes o. Although I know say my candidate no go win, but I go use my vote take make statement this 2023.
You know say your candidate no go win. You won't come use a whole vote take make statement. Now wasted vote be that now. Why you no go use that vote take recover Nigeria, make it work for you? Because if this government win again, now suffer Pro Max and poverty with a carry play with that too.
Not true o.
Of course it is true. Don't waste that vote. Vote PDP to recover Nigeria.
PDP! Power to the people! Sponsored by the PDP Presidential Campaign Council.
saves the day. Lunch is here.
Mom, I got some Coke too.
Just come and eat, Joe.
Cook up memorable moments because family lunch and an ice cold Coke make a recipe for wonder. Coca-Cola, real wonder.
99.3 Nigeria Info, your number one station for talk. Let's talk.
Lagos, I'm Sandra Ezekwesili, and we finally have our tech problem under control. Hopefully, fingers crossed. Knock on wood. And today I'm asking, what does the adoption process look like in Nigeria? We have our guest on the show with us today, who is the Assistant Director in the Adoption Office of the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development. And who she's told us, Adetu Tukbaye, by the way, she's told us single people can adopt, married people can adopt. If a woman wants to adopt, she has to have the consent of her husband. If the husband wants to adopt, he has to have the consent of his wife. The first step is to write a letter to the PERMSEC of the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development, and then you'll be invited for an interview. Then you'll be sent to go to the general hospital and be tested for your physical and mental fitness to be a parent. And then that's where we stopped right before the break. Am I right, Adetutu?
Yes, please.
Yes. So what's
Yes, you're
next?
Okay, so I was actually mentioning the parts of documents that we will need from you. So I
Yes.
also mentioned that the applicants will bring their proof of income and also their pay slips for those working in a private setup or in a government setup. And if you're an entrepreneur, you just give us a proof of your income. You also be paying 3 months your tax. It must be 3 years backwards from the time you received your letter, and it must be 3 years backwards. You must bring your statement of accounts and passport photographs, and that's it for the requirements that is expected of you to submit to the ministry. So after we are satisfied with all these documents and done our clarifications, we will come to your house for home assessment. That is basically important because we want to know how safe, sound, how safe, just secure your home is. We don't necessarily want to see a mansion. No, what we want to see a conducive environment and a loving home for the child to come into, so that you'll be able to develop all other developmental growth will be seen in the life of the child just few hours away from when the child is released to the applicants, to the prospective adoptive parents. So when we are satisfied with this, there's an administrative fee of 80,000 naira that the client will pay to the Lagos State Revenue. That's an administrative fee, 80,000 naira for local adoption. Then we will now be slated, the applicants will be slated for a panel section. So in the panelists, we have our commissioner, the honorable commissioner, we have our permanent secretary, we have people from judiciary, that's the magistrate of family courts. We have our directors of the ministry, we have the police, because most times the children come from police, and every child has a police, like a police report before the child is taken to the family courts, and the child will stay legally at any of the Lagos State orphanages or private homes. So that's why police are also involved in the panel section. So if the panel section, the clients coach you, and we give them list of orphanages and also the approval letter stating that they can go to any of these orphanages to identify them with themselves a child of their choice. The Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development does not match children for prospective adopters. They go to these orphanages to identify themselves a child that they can live with, bond with, and that would be them. So when this is done, this is now the time the applicants, the prospective adopters, they go to these orphanages of their choice to identify themselves with the child they can live with. And once that is done, like I said earlier, every child in the orphanage has like a case file in all the family courts. We have like 15 family courts in Lagos State. So, and during the time that the child is in the orphanages, we have social welfare officers that conduct a comprehensive investigation. Looking at the background, how the child was found, looking into it, and making sure that nobody's coming back for this child, nobody's claiming this child anymore,
Right.
and the child will be declared adoptable at the family court.
Right.
So if a child is declared adopted at the family court, the child will not go for adoption.
Okay. I have when we talked about there was a time we had a conversation about baby factories, and the conversation expanded into why people do not go through the legal process to adopt and instead have to go through the legal means. And a woman called me and she said that she followed the entire process with the legal state government, right? So she followed the entire process. She did an interview. She was given clearance to go and adopt. But the way she framed it, she said she hasn't been given her baby yet. That she doesn't know what to do, that she wants a baby girl. She's been waiting for years, and that this has been ongoing for a while until now. She still hasn't been called to collect her baby. And unfortunately, she's not on the call with me, and I do hope that she is listening. However, what could have happened in that particular scenario?
Okay, to be frank with you, when they say demand is more than the supply, what actually everybody wants is a child, not a commodity.
What does that mean?
That means that we have a lot of applications on ground.
Okay.
But the children available might not be able to. Every applicant, every approved applicant might not be able to get a child of their choice at the time they want to.
I see. So there are way more applicants than there are children available to be adopted. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
And at times also prospective adopters have what their dream child.
Okay.
And their dream child is not available.
Okay.
And in this part of the world, we notice that some prospective adopters, applicants, they are picky.
Okay.
I want a yellow child. I want a black child. I want a child with a curly hair. I want a child with a straight face. Different things. We have seen different things. And notwithstanding, like what I've said before, we have a lot of applications on ground, but the availability of children might not, be enough for, the approved applications, applicants that we have.
Okay. I've got a comment here on WhatsApp. I have actually applied for adoption, having waited for years. The process is tedious, but the chance of getting a child is difficult. I was given a list of homes to visit and drop my application by the ministry. This is 2 years after, no call from any of the home. That's a message from Chi.
Okay, just like what I've said as well. I said, I mentioned earlier that it's not all children that are adoptable. And there are different categories of children in all the orphanages. There are children that are there for shelter purpose. There are lost and found children. There are children that are still conducting their investigation. And when the family court is not convinced and satisfied with any investigation conducted, we keep on going to the field, conducting more investigation, making more social inquiries until the court is satisfied.
Right.
And that is because we want to protect these children and also want to protect the parents. I've never seen a situation whereby a child was given out to somebody for adoption and somebody is saying, "Oh, this is my child."
Right.
And the biological parent coming back and saying, "Oh, this is my child." No,
right.
It has never happened before. Right. And that is because a social inquiry investigation was properly conducted.
Okay. Okay. We've got a comment here from Charles in Agege. Charles says, is it legal for parents to put up their child for adoption?
Okay, there's another unit in the ministry, that's the child protection unit. Okay. We don't encourage that.
Oh, okay.
But if the ministry is going to take the child into any of the orphanages, that means it will be in the best interest of that child, as the law says.
But if the parents themselves want to put the child up for adoption, it means they don't think they have what it takes to raise the child, right? So
investigation also will be conducted. It is good for a child to live in a proper family setting, home setting. I'm trying to, what I mean by that is that if a child comes in and a child will be properly nurtured, you know, by the
I
parents.
understand what you're saying, but if the parents of the child, the biological parents of the child,
Yes, if the parents of the child comes in and says, I don't want my child anymore, the child protection unit handles that. And there's also a process for it as well. They'll go to the family court, they'll do social investigation, and they must be able to convince the court that this person, they can't treat this child. And it must be in the best interest of that child, for that child to be, collected from such parents and placed in the orphanage.
Okay. Now,
and that doesn't mean that child will be that child doesn't necessarily mean that immediately that child is taken into the orphanage, that child will be declared adoptable. No.
I see. Okay.
So there's still a process to it.
I see. We've got a comment here. If a child is adopted and there's a biological child thereafter, what then is the fate of the child in terms of inheritance? That is not a question for Adetutu. That's a question for you and your personal conscience. Because if you're adopting a child, it's your child, right? We've got Maro from Marlborough. Maro says, can the prospective adopter demand for the health history of the child to be adopted?
Yes. So when okay, let me just continue. When the child is now released to the parents, prospective adopter legally, is released to them through the family courts. There's a bonding period that the family courts, the magistrate says, okay, this child must go with you for a period of 3 months, to bond. Then during that time, they come to you, even before the child is released to you, the history of the child you will be told at the orphanage.
Okay.
And even before a child is even released to you, you can take that child for medical checkup.
Okay.
Under the watch of the orphanage.
Okay.
And also, the family court also, there's an order to that. So there's an application to the court. The social worker make an application to the court that although a child has been identified by a social person, now they want to know the history of the child, the medical condition of the child. They are free to do any medical test on the child because the child is going to be with them. If they are not satisfied with, just as if we also must be satisfied with the person that wants to adopt the child, they also too must be satisfied with the child they are bringing into their home.
Okay. All right then. Lagos, you can call into the show 0700-993-993-993. That's for men. Women, call us on 01465-7190. Now, I said earlier on that to a layperson, it seems like there's a difference between adopting a blood relative and adopting a child who was previously a stranger. So, example, from an orphanage. Is there a difference in the legal process in these two cases? So I'll give you an example. Does my dead brother's child automatically become my child because I'm his next of kin if his mother is not alive? Okay.
No.
What happens?
Okay, now it's the same process. They write an application letter, they go through all the pre-counseling sections, all the interview, submit all their documents. And in this regard, there's going to be an issue of people giving consent to the adoption.
Okay.
Okay, now the child also has, if it's the mother that is late, the child has a father.
Okay.
So the father must give consent to the adoption, or any relative must give consent to the adoption. They also go to the family court to legalize.
If both parents are late and I'm a sibling of the parents of one of the parents.
Okay, both parents are late. You give us a death certificate of both parents.
Okay.
So both parents also have siblings as well.
And I'm one of the siblings.
So they come and give, they come and give consent to the adoption.
I see. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So in future, there won't be any problem. I didn't know when she just took up the child. No, the family must be aware of your intention.
Okay. All right. Let's take a few calls. 99.3. Hello. Hello. Thank you for calling. What's your name, ma'am?
Good evening.
Good evening. Can you hear me? Hello. Can you hear me? All right. We're having that network wahala all over. 99.3.
Hello, good evening.
Good evening. What's your name, ma'am?
My name is Augusta.
Augusta, turn your radio off.
Okay.
All right, go ahead. Turn the radio off. Turn the radio off. Turn the radio off. Okay.
What's the maximum age limit for a child that's to be adopted or for an adoptable child? How old is the maximum age limit that one can go in adopting a child?
Okay. What's the maximum age limit she wants to know?
Okay, so the child rights law says a child is between the age of 0 and 18 years.
That's right.
So you can't adopt a child, you can't adopt somebody that is over 18 years of age.
Okay. But you can adopt all the way to 18, yes?
You can adopt all the way to 18.
99.3, hello? Hello?
Can you hear me now?
Yes. What's your name, ma'am?
Yeah, can you hear me better?
We can. Oh, that's unfortunate. We've got Chris listening from Accra. Chris says, "What are the success rates of the state adoption process? Can you give a year on year, maybe 2018 to 2021, on number of adoptions in Lagos State?"
Okay, it has been very successful and impressive.
Okay.
I would say that, but I can't just lay to my finger the figure.
Okay.
But we have a very high success rate of adoption
I
in
see.
Lagos State.
Okay.
I can say yes.
Okay. Femi from Dallas, that's in Texas, says, "Can a child put himself or herself up for adoption due to abuse from parents or bad parental care?"
No, a child cannot put himself or herself for adoption because the child is still a minor. The court has to decide on that. Any child cannot put himself or herself for adoption in Lagos State.
Okay. We got Mr. Sam from Ayobo who says, "If you suspect that your neighbor has adopted illegally, can you report to the agency or to the police?"
Yes, please. You can come to the Ministry of Youth and Social Development to make such complaints. You can do that. You can also report at the police station.
Okay.
We have 2 designated police stations. That's the Juvenile Welfare Center, Alakara, and also Juvenile Welfare Center, Adeniji Adele. Such cases can be reported there.
We have a comment here. Anonymous says, "I'm a victim of the Lagos State adoption process. They don't have any children to give out. After going through all of those processes, you will never be giving any child. After collecting the certificate for adoption, you're on your own. Imagine the worst part of it is that you pay substantial amount and at the end you won't get anything over 5 years now. So why collecting more forms from people when you in there know that there are no kids to give out?" This person says it's a scam. You make people go through hectic years with all the qualifications required, but after payment and certificates, you are on your own.
Okay, the payment they are making is not for certificates. It's an administrative fee.
Okay.
Of 80,000 naira. They are not paying for the child and they are not paying anything but just for administrative process.
Okay.
Like I rightly said earlier, I said people should be free to apply to Lagos State government.
Okay.
It is now left for the Lagos State government also to make sure that they go through the right process, through the right means.
Okay.
And they have done that.
Okay.
And I also mentioned earlier also that there are different categories of children in the orphanages, and also if the court is not clear and satisfied with the investigation conducted, a child will not be given out, will not be given out for adoption.
Okay. Okay. We have a few more calls. Let's talk to Lagos. We're going to have to do a second part of this because I have a lot of questions, but because of the issues we had earlier, we can't really get into those questions. However, Lagos.
Yes, and again, I've also not finished the process.
Exactly. So we'll have to come back. We'll have to come back. I'm just taking a lot of calls from Lagos because they also have questions as well. 99.3, hello.
Hello.
How you doing? Good evening. What's your name?
My name is Shade.
Hi, Shade. Welcome.
Yes, thank you. I have a question. If a baby found abandoned on the street, what is the best process for that? Can someone adopt that child? Like if you find the child on the street, can you, or in front of a dumpster or something like it's said on social media?
Can you take the baby home and make the baby yours?
Well, no, not that. Like if you take the child, because some guy took the child to the police station and then they were like he wanted to adopt their child. Is that the process to go? Or like if you take the child to the police station, do you have first dibs or something like that?
Okay.
Because you found the child.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Shade, for calling. So Shade is saying, say I find a baby in a dumpster and I take the child to the police station and I want to adopt the child, will I be given preference because I found the baby at the dumpster, or will I have to wait in line for everybody else who is in the pool waiting to adopt a child?
Okay, there are two things to that. One is that the ministry does not encourage baby founder adoption, because most times they are coming with their stories.
What do you mean,
And most times,
baby family adoption? What do you mean?
Baby founder adoption. She found the baby.
Baby founder. Okay.
Yes, she found the baby. Yes,
Okay.
she found the baby, and she's interested in adopting that child.
Right. Yes.
And that is also because of, in the best interest of that child, that child will not be given to the person that found the child.
I see.
In the child's best interest.
I see. Okay. You know what? We're going to pause here. We'll pause here and then we'll come back to this conversation. I'll reach out to you and then we can come up with a date that works for you so that we can come back and really dig into this conversation, because I have so many questions. In fact, we'll probably make this a series, like once a week you'll come and talk to us about adoption in Lagos, you know. But thank you so much for your time and for your patience. Apologies about all the technical mishaps that we had.
No problem. You're welcome.
All right. Adetutu is the assistant director of the adoption office in the adoption office of the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development, and we just spent a few minutes talking about the adoption process and what it looks like in Lagos, and then of course we can branch out into Nigeria. Unfortunately, there's never enough time when you're having a great time, but she will be back, and I will let you know, Lagos, ahead of time when she will come back, so that you are ready with all of your questions and we can ask and we can learn and we can do the best we can to stamp out illegal adoption. Lagos, I'm Sandra Ezekwesili. This is Hard Facts on 99.3 Nigeria Info. We have the news coming up at 6 p.m. After the news is done, we'll hand you over to the newsroom for the newsroom on 99.3 Nigeria Info. Don't go away.
This is Hard Facts.